Second meeting of Daly City Small Business Commission. I'd like to call this meeting to order. As you all know, I'm Brandon Phipps, Economic Development Specialist, and very happy to continue my role as staff liaison in connection with this commission. So before we move on, just want to give a shout out to City Manager Shauna Maltby and Assistant City Manager Stephen Stolte. Thank you both for joining us this evening. And of course, as I've said before, you guys have carte blanche to provide comment or step in whenever you see fit. Without further ado, let's jump right in and move on to the next agenda item, the pledge to the flag. Let's all see if we can do this in unison. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it
which
stands,
stands
one
one
nation,
nation,
God,
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. That sounded pretty good. Thank you, everyone. Moving on to the next item, roll call. So for this item, just like the last meeting, when I call your name, please indicate that you are present and make sure that you are not muted so we can hear you. Mr. Espiritu.
Present.
Thank you. Ms. Concordia.
Present.
Mr. Hill.
Present.
Ms. Manio.
Here.
And Ms. Carson.
Here.
Fantastic. All right. All commissioners are present for the meeting. Moving on to the next item, approval of minutes. The minutes for the previously regularly scheduled meeting on February 11th are always posted on the city's website for reference, but they've also been distributed to commissioners for review prior to the meeting. Unless a commissioner desires, and to be respectful of everybody's time, I would like to dispense with the reading of the minutes and approve them as distributed. So for our commissioners, do you have any corrections to the minutes you would like to see reflected?
No.
Fantastic. Okay, hearing none. The minutes are approved as distributed. Moving on to the next item, election of officers to the position of chair and vice chair. So just to give some background, the chair and vice chair seats on this commission will impose additional responsibilities on elected commission members. And some of those additional responsibilities include presiding at all official meetings, consulting with fellow commissioners and the staff liaison, that's me, in drafting meeting agendas, attending council committees as appropriate to represent the commission, signing any correspondence on behalf of the commission, helping to lead meetings in line with the agenda, and ensuring that any discussions are orderly, focused, efficient, and most importantly, fair. So the chair will take a leading role in the above responsibilities, working collaboratively with the vice chair, and the vice chair will take on the role of chair in the event that the chair is unable to fulfill those responsibilities. For example, if they're absent, maybe on vacation, whatever it might be. As previously indicated via email for each of these positions, I think it's important to note that these roles will be assigned annually. So with that in mind, all commissioners, if they so desire, will have a chance to occupy a chair, vice chair position during their time on the commission. All that is to say is that if you are not elected in this cycle or don't want to take on chair, vice chair role this year, it is likely that you will have a chance to be elected to chair, vice chair in the following year. All right, commissioners, regarding process for this item, before commissioners make any formal nominations, I just wanted to open the floor to commissioners to more informally discuss their interest in holding the position of chair and vice chair. And once interest has been expressed and discussed, I'll open the floor to commissioners to nominate themselves or one of their colleagues for chair or vice chair. And once nominations have been made, I will close the nomination period and we'll move to elect by a voice vote. So that's just, fairly informal. If we need to do a formal count, we can also do that. For each of the nominations, commissioners will voice their support by voice, and the nominee with the majority will have the opportunity to then accept the position. So with that in mind, the floor is open to commissioners to discuss their interest in holding either the position of chair and vice chair. And any interested parties, please speak up.
I'd be down to take on one of the roles, just if nobody else wants to.
Great, Mabel. I was gonna nominate you for something, so.
Yeah, we do need to have a chair and vice chair, just reiterating.
Okay. Well, I'll be open to serve in whatever capacity, my fellow commissioners think I might be valuable. So I'm putting my name in the hat.
Miss Carson or Mr. Espiritu, do you guys have any interest in it?
I might be interested on the vice chair position.
I was gonna nominate you, so it's okay.
Oh,
Okay. If there are no other comments, thank you, commissioners, for your interest, for your comments. I'd like to open the floor to chair, vice chair nominations at this time.
Okay, I'd like to nominate Ms. Magno as chair and Mr. Hill as vice chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other nominations? Okay, that makes it easy. Thank you very much. So if I heard correctly, I understand that Commissioner Manio has been nominated for the position of chair and that Commissioner Hill has been nominated for the position of vice chair. If there are no other nominations, which what I'm hearing is that's the case, I'd like to close the nomination period and move to an election by voice vote. For the position of chair for Commissioner Manio, all those in favor of the motion, please indicate so orally with an aye or a yeah, unmuted.
yes,
I
I
All right, we have received an aye or a yeah from the majority of commissioners. Congratulations, Commissioner Manio. Would you like to accept the position?
It's with my great honor, and I will accept. And thank you so much, Ms. Concordia, for the nomination.
Fantastic. Thank you, Commissioner Manio, Chair Manio. Moving on to the position of Vice Chair for Commissioner Hill. All those in favor of the motion, please indicate so orally with an aye or a yeah. Unmuted, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Fantastic. Similarly, it sounded to me like we got a majority. Commissioner Hill, just confirming, are you interested in taking on that position?
Yes, I am. Mhm.
Fantastic. In that case, congratulations, Commissioner Hill, Vice Chair Hill, on accepting the position. And so glad to hear that we now have a chair and vice chair for the commission. And I really look forward to working with both of you moving forward on future items such as agenda building.
Okay.
So moving right along to the next item, one of our discussion items. First item is complementary to what we just discussed. Let me just share my screen quickly. Okay, please let me know if you have any issues seeing this. Okay, so the first item for discussion this evening is ongoing agenda building. So this item is particularly important, for our recently elected chair and vice chair, obviously, to understand, as they will be taking an active role in agenda building moving forward. Specifically, leading up to commission meetings, the chair and the vice chair will solicit and receive proposed agenda items or discussion items from fellow commission members. The chair and the vice chair will then work with me to select agenda items based on additional direction and input from fellow commissioners, as mentioned, city council and city staff, particularly city manager. So this collaborative process will primarily take place via email, but I'm available to discuss these items virtually or over the phone as needed, so that we can discuss in depth as appropriate. Any questions from commissioners, chair, or vice chair on ongoing agenda building prior to moving on to the next item?
Mr. Phipps, I have a question, not necessarily on agenda, but do you know if council set a date to open City Hall to have commission meetings at the on-site at the room there?
That's a really good question. At this time, I have not heard of any specific dates.
I can help. I can chime in if you want some help on that.
Thank you, Shauna. Yeah,
Can you
please go
hear?
ahead.
Can you hear me? Okay. I'm fighting internet connection with my daughter. So we don't have a definite date yet. That's not been discussed with council. We are all eager to get back into the council chambers and have some semblance of normal type meetings. My personal goal as the administrator would be no later than the week of Labor Day, which would be the September 7th. Although it could be sooner, depending on the climate, or it could be later. So but the goal is no later than September 7th.
Thank you, Shauna, for the info. And I personally am anxious to start meeting in person again. It will be nice to see you all in person. Any other questions before moving on to the next item? Okay, hearing none. Next item, summary of other commissions and subcommittees. So for this item, I wanted to introduce our commissioners to some of the other advisory bodies that exist at the city level to give a sense of what other specialized groups are contributing to citywide decision-making. Specifically, the Arts and Culture Commission works to support and advance arts and culture, as expected, within the Daly City community. The Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee reviews pedestrian and bicycle improvement projects, reviews grant opportunities for bikeway and pedestrian facilities, and provides input to staff to help improve pedestrian and bicycle safety. And the Youth Advisory Committee provides youth feedback and represents the youth's voice to promote a healthier community while empowering the youth of Daly City. The Library Board of Trustees advocates for literacy for all ages and all people, communicates constituent needs to City Council and library staff, and facilitates the fulfillment of the library's future needs and vision. The Planning Commission holds public hearings and makes recommendations to City Council regarding discretionary development proposals, environmental studies, the general plan, specific plans, as well as the zoning ordinance. And the Recreation Commission advises on matters pertaining to recreation services, including budget items, capital improvements, facility issues, user fees, service levels, fundraising, and legislative issues. So all that is to say that the number of advisory bodies in the city provides opportunities for both collaboration and teamwork, but also helps to narrow the focus of what is discussed within the Small Business Commission. So an item that may be of interest to the Small Business Commission, for example, might actually be best suited to be discussed by another commission or subcommittee. So when we engage in agenda building and think about what issues we want to advise on, I'd just like for us to all ask ourselves the questions you see here to make sure that we're not stepping outside of our role as commissioners. Is there a commission or subcommittee that already exists that could take on this item or that is better suited to discuss this item? And are there opportunities for the Small Business Commission to collaborate on certain items with other commissioners and other commissions? With all that in mind, we can ensure that our discussions are going to be targeted and also ensure that any issues of interest are being routed to the most appropriate advising body. Any questions from commissioners or comments from commissioners on this item? Hearing none. Moving on to the next item, Daly City's small business ecosystem. Okay, so I put this slide deck together to give commissioners a high-level perspective on what Daly City's small business ecosystem looks like. And it's the hope that this information will help to direct the Small Business Commission in terms of future discussion items and any future recommendations that this commission makes to City Council. I'll begin going over a number of local metrics. So please feel free to stop me at any time to clarify items or to ask questions. I'll also be providing commissioners with this PowerPoint following this meeting, and I'm happy to continue discussions or answer any specific questions moving forward. So jumping right in, the next few slides give a summary of Daly City's business licenses. For in-town businesses, these are businesses that operate and have space within the city. Ms. Carson, that's you. As of 2021, Daly City has 1,756 active licenses, and of this total, about 30% are operating out of a residential structure. Commissioner Manio, I believe that's you. As you can see here, since 2019, the number of businesses in the city has reduced by approximately 17.5%. And this reduction is likely due to COVID-19 hardship, as well as late license renewal submittals. We do our renewals every year in September, as some of you might be familiar with, and sometimes it takes folks a little bit of time to trickle in. But even without late license renewals, I don't believe that 2021 business licenses will exceed 2019 figures, and that's primarily due to COVID-19. For out-of-town businesses, these are businesses that operate outside of the city, but provide services within Daly City. As of 2021, Daly City has 1,157 active licenses. And as you can see here, since 2019, the number of out-of-town licenses has reduced by about 35%. Similar to in-town businesses, this reduction is likely due to COVID-19 hardships, as well as late license renewal submittals. But even again, without the late license renewals, I don't believe that 2021 licenses will exceed 2019 figures due to COVID-19 once again. For rental property businesses, as of 2021, Daly City had 3,100, almost 3,200 active rental property licenses. And as you can see, since 2019, the number of rental property licenses has actually increased by about 2%. And we anticipate this number to increase as the year progresses, as many property owners are looking to find creative ways to supplement their income due to challenges posed by COVID-19. Regarding gross receipts of in-town businesses, this is specifically for in-town businesses. Of the approximately 1,800 in-town businesses, we observe two primary points that I want to share. Firstly, through an analysis of tax data, we have found that the vast majority of businesses in Daly City, that's about 80%, report less than $1 million in annual gross receipts. This is important for us to understand because it demonstrates that Daly City, more than any other business type, is a city made up of small businesses. Secondly, Through an analysis of business data gathered by the US Census, we have found that Daly City has a high concentration, about 75%, of minority-owned businesses relative to our San Francisco neighbors at 39%, and the rest of San Mateo County at 41% minority business ownership. So these elements together help to paint a picture of Daly City's business ecosystem as one that is made up of primarily small and minority-owned firms. Looking at what kind of jobs are most available in the city through our licensed businesses, again, through an evaluation of recent census data, we found that of the approximately 18,800 jobs in the city, the vast majority, that's about 60%, fall into healthcare and social assistance, retail trade, and accommodation and food services. With this in mind, supporting these industries is really essential to maintaining the economic health of the city, supporting the small business community, and maintaining an active and growing job market. So thank you for allowing me to data dump on you guys. Much appreciated. I know that that was a lot of information, a lot of numbers coming your way. And there will be time to digest again and follow up with me on any specific items. But in the present, any questions from commissioners on this item before moving on to the next one?
Yeah, I have a question. Of the number of minorities, were you able to gather a breakdown of the different ethnicities of the minority group?
That is a really good question, and that's one that I believe that we can answer, but we would need to conduct a little bit more analysis to do kind of one more layer of digging.
Right. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
Also, to get a little deeper into Mr. Hill's point, are we considering the Arabic and or Middle Eastern community as a minority?
Based on my understanding of census kind of ethnic classifications, yes. Mhm. And yeah, to your point, I've kind of more qualitatively noticed that that's been a growing business sector in the city over the last few years. That's a good question. Any other questions?
One more, Mr. Phipps. So the this breakdown right here of this slide that's showing, these are all small businesses?
So yeah, another good question. So census data is not discriminating based on businesses' income. So this is all in-town businesses in the city. But based on our evaluation of gross receipts and businesses that report, 80% of all of these jobs will be within, or we can assume, we're making an assumption that the majority of these jobs fall within small businesses.
Right.
I think for some, we know, for example, in healthcare and social assistance, we certainly have some bigger players in that realm. And within retail trade, some national credit tenants are going to be represented, like some of the folks that you see in Westlake and Serramonte.
Mhm.
But when we look at some of the other items, particularly accommodation and food services, I think the majority of these jobs are held by small businesses.
Right. It might be helpful, as we, it might be helpful to correlate the percentage, since we have a large percentage, when I think about the data of businesses in Daly City that are under 1 million, and we have a large percentage of minorities, it'd be helpful to cross collaborate the data and see what percentage of those, what industries do they fall in? Are those that percentage of minorities in a particular, concentrated in a particular trade versus another? And then it would also make sense to figure out, are they, I would suspect they're mostly in obviously in Daly City, but also to figure out what section or what area, or is it pretty diverse throughout the city of Daly City? And the reason I say that is because when we start thinking about programs and information that we can disseminate, it'd be good to understand, you know, kind of the exact nature of the audience.
Thank you. Yeah, that's a really good point. Sounds like the dog's got a question.
Yeah, my apologies.
Okay, if there are no other comments, I'll move on to the next item. Small business challenges and resources during COVID-19. So this item is one where I hope we can have a bit of a group discussion, and yeah, look forward to receiving your feedback on what you are seeing in the business community related to the ways that small businesses have been coping with COVID-19 and the kinds of resources that you think would be best suited for small business relief in Daly City. So I'll first present some high-level information on the pandemic, and we'll go from there. So I think it's well known that COVID-19 has negatively impacted the majority of the small business community, but I wanted to provide some recent empirical data to help to support those suspicions. So a recent study, this is a Yelp study, has indicated that more than 5,000 businesses in the San Francisco metro area have closed from March 1 to mid-July 2020, and that more than 40% of those businesses will remain permanently closed. Specifically in San Francisco, 7.3 of every 1,000 businesses closed permanently, and in San Jose, 6.2 of every 1,000 businesses have closed permanently. As Daly City lies between these areas and within this metro area, we believe that our rate is similar to those seen in San Francisco and San Jose. More generally, however, we found that San Francisco and San Mateo metro areas have some of the highest per capita closure rates in the country, with only Los Angeles and New York taking the 1 and 2 spot respectively. And just for the group to note, this data was as of July last year, so data collection has certainly been a challenge during this period. This is some of the latest data that we have access to at this time, but it's likely that these figures have gotten worse because the pandemic certainly hasn't resolved itself since July of 2020. Lamentably, some of the industries hardest hit by COVID-19 are Daly City's most represented business types. So restaurants and retail. Looking at local tax data, Daly City has observed a 21.5% sales tax reduction in the restaurant sector and a 25% reduction in the city's retail sector. And it goes without saying that these reductions are extremely significant and have contributed to a number of challenges in our community. Observing the significant declines in business performance, we have found that many businesses have augmented their approach during the pandemic to stay afloat. And some of these differing strategies, I'm sure that you are all familiar with, including creating accounts with meal delivery companies, mostly for restaurants, expanding other types of online resources, creating socially distant practices, reducing operating hours, employment, overhead, revising lease agreements with landowners, and applying for financial resources such as loans and grants. So I'm really interested in turning it over to our local experts here. From your perspective, as members of the small business community, how are you seeing businesses respond to COVID-19, or how are you yourself responding to COVID-19 in Daly City in connection with COVID-19 and your own response? I'll open the floor for discussion.
I think you listed all of them already, but one of my clients, she was using the ghost kitchen, or like the kitchen in in Daly City to run her business out of after she closed down the restaurant dining room that she had. So using like a shared kitchen space, I think is something that maybe some restaurants that had to downsize are doing. And then the same client also reopened, but in a smaller space that doesn't have any dining, and it's just a to-go window now. So I think that's something interesting too, that maybe some people are looking at, is like, forget the dining room, and just have like, a walk-in window where you can order, or online order. So I'm seeing a lot of businesses do that now.
Are you referring to Moonstar? I don't want to maybe get too into specifics, but I was reading that Moonstar transitioned to a ghost kitchen.
Oh, no, I'm not, but that's good to know.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. In my case, after COVID-19, most of my staff work at home. And at the time, most of my clients, I rely on advertising, especially car dealers, restaurants, professional services. So right away, I'm down like 50%. March 15, boom, they all stopped. From 40 pages, I'm down to 28 pages every week that I published. So my approach was, I didn't lay off anybody yet. At that time, I just renegotiate my lease with my landlord. And then at the same time, tapping on my personal resources, because I'm having a hard time getting loans to PPP or SBA. So fast forward 6 months, I'm still using my personal resources, and that's when I still start getting SBA loan, the EIDL. I was approved, but never lay off my employee, because they're, like I said, they're like my family. So pretty much they all work at home, and I sublease some of my, one of my office there to reduce my expenses. But like I said, the big help was we negotiate all my vendors, expenses and landlord, so that's how I survive.
Thank you. Yeah, that's super helpful to hear, especially your kind of business having a bit of a unique concept, news,
Yes.
outside of the typical businesses we see in Daly City.
And it's very, very critical, because that bridge us, to our community back home and here, to provide them what's happening in our homeland. Okay.
I just want to say, one of my neighbors is a restaurant, Cuban, Colombian restaurant. And he mentioned to me recently that his business actually went up during COVID and his costs went down. I said, wow, that's strange. Everybody else is closing down. Somehow, obviously, he has a pretty entrenched customer base, but by reducing, he's doing just the walk-up window now. And he mentioned to me he doesn't think that he will ever open and let people come back in, because his profit, as Councilwoman Concordian mentioned, has been great. But he recognizes that's not the same. He's had to lay off a worker. It was primarily a primary family-oriented business. But he also recognized that's not the case for a lot of other restaurants. He decided he had tried kind of Uber and some of the other services, not Uber, I'm sorry, DoorDash and some of the other services, but he saw that his cost of using those services just skyrocketed, which I understand a number of restaurants is sort of the double-edged sword, right? You kind of need them because it expands your ability to sell more product. But at the same time, the cost to use that service is just eating into the profit. I do want to offer in something that everyone can mention. I also sit on a committee of NorCal for years. Small business is a state program. They do loan guarantees for banks that are lending to, or traditionally find it risky to lend to small businesses. NorCal will look at the business and underwrite the business and give the bank an 80% guarantee. In many instances, we help small businesses that traditionally don't get loans, and they do it throughout the state of California. And recently, I just was in a recent meeting with the board, and they're wanting, because they're getting a lot of loans from Southern California, surprisingly. But they're wanting to do more loans in the Bay Area. They also will do nonprofits, nonprofits that have the financials and other things together. So just FYI, if I can be of assistance in that respect, I definitely will. I think, for me, I'm starting to see our costs. I mean, our costs went up through the roof during COVID, and our sales went down like everyone else. And I'm seeing an improvement as things are opening back up. But what I'm not seeing a reduction is in the cost, right? The cleaning costs, the COVID cleaning costs. And as I've talked to other small business owners, some's concern about opening and letting people in is, how do you manage the risk of of someone getting sick, or the additional cost of keeping the place clean. And I think one of the things we should consider as we kind of formulate some ideas and strategies to help small businesses is, how do we kind of help them address that reality, right? And it's, I've posted the signs, social distancing, we clean pretty constantly. But in addition to doing that, I'm praying a lot that, we do everything we can, to keep people, safe. I don't know if anyone has been seeing, they've been advertising this sort of something sealed or cleanly sealed, that they've been doing a lot of advertising on TV. I haven't investigated it yet, but I want to look into that and see if that actually sort of helps customers feel more comfortable, going into a facility or an establishment.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Vice Chair, Commissioner Hill. One of the things that we've talked about on economic recovery committees at the county level is the difference between COVID-19 case rates and consumer confidence.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
So even if we're able to vaccinate everybody, and even if infection rates are down to zero, consumer confidence might be fairly low due to, continued, I don't want to say paranoia, because I think that the worry is legitimate, but, due to ongoing concerns related to COVID-19 and reinfection. And when we read about, additional mutations that are coming up, I think that I was reading about one in California, actually, that does nothing to positively impact consumer confidence. And it's certainly something that we need to be sensitive to moving forward.
I just wanted to chime in, if I may. Personally, I applied for EIDL when it first came out. I didn't hear anything from them. I also applied for PPP. Second round was denied. I'm in the commercial real estate acquisitions, and I've seen my tenant rep business side go all the way up, because a lot of the business owners don't know how to navigate lease negotiations. But if you were one of the lucky ones that are able to pivot, whether it's a restaurant into a ghost kitchen, or upgrading your office into more service oriented office space, or a hotel into a SRO, then you're definitely one of the lucky ones. But in general, I've seen the sublet absorbency at 40%, which is an all-time high for that submarket. The spread between what a landlord and what a tenant is willing to pay was larger at 20%. And you saw things like rent abatement becoming the norm when previously that was an outlier. So that's just what I've seen.
It's good to have a realtor on the commission to dig into the intricacies of new agreements between landowners and tenants. Thank you for that. Anybody else want to share some personal experiences or some input that they've
Um,
heard from other businesses?
I'd like to say something. Sorry, my camera, I still can't turn it on, but this is Maria from Lollipops. Just like everyone else, we applied for the loans and we never got anything. So since the pandemic started, we actually have not stopped working because we do parties and stuff like that. Since there's no parties, we kind of switched our business into doing smaller personalized bouquets. And surprisingly enough, we've gotten busier because a lot of people are at home and they're using the balloons to kind of keep the kids happy. So we were busy for like Easter, Mother's Day last year, graduation last year. And we practice contactless delivery. So we would literally just do the balloons and leave it in front of their door, text them that the balloon is outside. Gratefully for us, that has been working. With the vaccine rolling out, it seems like people are partying, and I'm still kind of scared to take a whole bunch of stuff. So we're kind of nitpicking our business right now. And one of my thing too is a lot of my friends in business started working from home, and a lot of people are actually doing that just to kind of, you know, a couple of people that I know lost their business storefront and they just started working from home.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, that's also very helpful. Your business is all about smiles, right? And it's good to hear that folks are continuing, to try to stay happy in using, balloons to uplift their spirits during this time. And yeah, I personally, I actually live about a block away from your business, Commissioner Carson. And it's been nice to see that you have created kind of a socially distant setup so that you can meet folks out front of your business without having to, go within that 6-foot contact zone.
Yeah, because our daughters Zoom inside the store, so we have to let the people out. We're not letting anyone in.
Right, right. Well, we'll commend you for that and that you've been able to continue doing business with that.
I just wanted to share too. I think that I've been seeing a lot of people start businesses out of their home. And so I think if they continue, right, then we'll see an increase in folks getting like the business license, renting a space out. So I think that's also something positive as people are taking this opportunity to flex their creativity and maybe their dreams that they, never got to act on, and now they're doing it. So especially with food businesses, I think that's probably one of the more common ones that you see starting out of a home. So I think, yeah, ghost kitchen, maybe like more ghost kitchens in Daly City might be something of value to the community to get them, it's like a baby step to the next level to move out of your home and into like a commissary kitchen.
Yeah.
I think that trend is going to be with us even post pandemic. But I think what you're specifically speaking of is a micro enterprise. And for anybody doing food out of their house, they're taking advantage of the, I believe it's called the cottage food law. And that is a great way to start a business through that law.
Totally agree and really appreciate the points. If we so choose, I think that in addition to supporting and providing resources to help out businesses that were open pre-pandemic and have been struggling during the pandemic, I think that there's also a tremendous opportunity for us to support entrepreneurship and the formation of new businesses coming out of COVID-19.
Right.
So, if our chair, vice chair agree that, that's an important topic, we can include that on future agendas as a discussion item or item for strategizing around.
Yeah, no, I mean, as a vice chair, I agree. I work with entrepreneurs in an advisory capacity in the East Bay, and I mean, the reality is there's a transition, is which I was explaining to them, that businesses grow, businesses die. Unfortunately, this pandemic accelerated the death of a lot of businesses, but there's going to be ones that come behind. And I just spoke, and I was encouraging people to be hopeful. And this is the time, as Commissioner Concordia said, to pursue dreams that you hadn't thought about, right? And so I think, to the extent that we can provide resources, even if it's open up a restaurant in your home, because I know a number of hairstylists that went, because they couldn't open up shops, they went inside, right? They were like, okay, I got to earn money, right? But, and so they take that risk, but, providing resources to help people if they're going to be in their home or to come out of their home. There's one of the things that's been happening in, the mentor of mine that invests in commercial real estate, and he opens up locations that different restaurants folks can come into. He has one in Vallejo, and he's looking at one in Oakland. And I was out with him looking, and I saw this huge place on East 12th Street, and it has at least 15 plus restaurants inside of it, and somehow it's connected with an app. I was told the guy, one of the ex guys from Uber, is running it. But it's something that was in conjunction with the city of Oakland to help accelerate restaurants getting back to, I think they gave them a tax incentive or tax advantage on the warehouse space, right? And so I don't know to the extent we can do that, or it can be done in Daly City, but I think there's a lot of creative ideas that are happening in the marketplace to help small businesses get back on their feet and new ones to come alive. And I think to the extent that we can just be open and model what's out there, could be a good thing for the small businesses in the community, Daly City community.
I have to agree with Mr. Hill, and if we could look primarily with the lens of equity, because the issues with that were exacerbated with COVID-19 and in all levels and all facets of our lives. And I think if this commission could lead with that, I think that would be great for our people in our community.
Really, really appreciate that discussion. And yeah, love the innovative thinking. I look forward to digging into those ideas in the future. And yeah, that's something that we can have a back and forth on that in the coming month. Commissioner Hill, Chair, Commissioner Manio. So we'll have another opportunity to continue this discussion in a couple more slides. But yeah, again, thanks all for your input. It's extremely helpful to hear firsthand what businesses are doing in this community. And yeah, glad to hear, Commissioner Concordia, that I'm also getting some of those right. As was mentioned, business resources for some has been an important component of dictating what businesses are able to survive. And with that in mind, I wanted to review some of the large scale and local financial resources that are available to businesses in the Daly City community. So with respect to grants, and these are the big guys, this is not an exhaustive list. There are federal, state, and local resources that businesses can take advantage of. Specifically, the California Small Business COVID-19 Relief Grant Program provides grants from $5,000 to $25,000 to eligible small businesses and nonprofits impacted by COVID-19. Although round 5 for the program is closed, round 6 will open later this month on April 28th. The San Mateo County Restaurant, Brewery, and Winery Grant Program was implemented at the county level and provides struggling businesses in those aforementioned industries with grants up to $10,000. So although the application window for this program has closed, the program is working to solicit additional financial contributions to address some unfunded need. And I'll talk a little bit about local specifics in connection with that program on the following slide. The Shuttered Venue Operators Grant provides emergency assistance for eligible venues affected by COVID-19 and has been funded and administered through the US SBA. Although this program has recently suspended applications, it will receive a new round of funding through the Biden Rescue America plan and will reopen once those funds are allocated. The final two grant programs you see here will receive funding as part of the Biden administration's Rescue America plan, recently approved. These federal programs will be funded with $28.5 billion for the Restaurant Revitalization Fund for industry-focused grants and $100 million for the Community Navigator Pilot Program, which will allocate grants to eligible organizations supporting efforts to improve access to COVID-19 pandemic assistance, programs, and resources. On the loan front, I think we're all familiar with PPP and the EIDL programs. Both of those will receive additional funding from the Rescue America plan in the amount of $7.25 billion and $15 billion respectively, and will be geared moving forward to those businesses hardest hit by the pandemic. And appreciate all the comments related to access in connection with those larger federal programs. I think that that's something that we need to keep in mind. The CalCap program is a loan loss reserve program, which may provide up to 100% coverage on losses as a result of certain loan defaults. Individual borrowers are limited to a max of $2.5 million over a 3-year period. As a supplement to financial resources, there are also a number of technical resources available to businesses to help address COVID-19 challenges. We've observed in Daly City that a number of our businesses have not applied for financial resources or haven't been able to receive financial resources. And we believe part of that is due to the lack of direction as to what resources are best for their business, and a lack of ability to generate the proper documentation or go through a time-sensitive and time-intensive application process. So the resources you see here are designed to help businesses navigate this difficult time and find the resources that are best. In addition to the resources you see here, some good news is that a business support center is also being developed at the county level, directed at North County cities, including Daly City, that we hope to see rolled out in the coming year. This is a program that has been spearheaded by City of South San Francisco. They just received funding from the county in the amount of $200,000, I believe, to help build out that program. So that's something that we're keeping our ear to the ground on, and we're tracking growth and any updates associated with that. So that's something that I'll keep you guys apprised of as well. Regarding local outcomes, we were able to get a summary of Daly City's representation as a part of the county's aforementioned restaurant, brewery, and winery program. Of the 56 applications received under this program, the vast majority of which are restaurants. We don't have any wineries in Daly City. I think we maybe have one brewery, arguably. Of the 56 applications received, over 50% remain unfunded due to lack of resources. So one of the main things we can gain from these results is that even with the small business support programs available, federal, county, local, the amount of funding that has been allocated to those programs, there is still significant unmet local need. And I think it's important, to keep that in mind as we discuss moving forward. Regarding a more recent update, Daly City is set to receive allocations of federal funds through the Biden Rescue America plan. And although we have not yet received those funds, staff will begin discussions on potential uses in the coming months. And we will keep you guys apprised of updates regarding those funds and may request your input on utilization of those funds for small business support based on council and city manager direction. So again, we're waiting on to receive those, and we'll keep you updated. But taking all of this into account, once again, and considering your expert knowledge of the small business community, yeah, we want to hear from you. Once again, what kind of small business assistance, in your guys' view, would be most impactful for Daly City businesses? And understanding that this is we can have this discussion over 5 commission meetings very easily. So looking for, higher level perspectives, I open the floor to our commissioners to discuss.
I think it would probably be, just like housing, it's rent, it's the lease, like and it's so expensive in the Bay Area, right? So I think that hands down is probably the #1 issue most business owners are facing is how do we pay the lease?
I think in addition to the lease, I just think overall that, the small business owner typically is doing everything they can to run their business, even prior to COVID. And now you throw COVID into the mix. And so oftentimes they don't know where to look for the information or how to even apply for it, and I think we need to, and I've constantly heard this, but we just got to do a better job of exposing the information to the people that need it most. And we got to meet them at the level of their needs. I've sat on committees and I'm constantly hearing, well, we got all these programs out here and we got all this good information. Like I was surprised still to hear the number of people that did not get approved. Somewhat surprised, but I think Brent, you may have known my challenges with getting loans, but I've kind of figured out and I have worked in banking, right? And so you guys got to touch a lot of people before you get a yes or a no, right? And so I think we can be very helpful, or how do I put it? I think one of the needs is that we got to demystify the process that that takes to get a loan or to get the resources, because they're between the Small Business Administration, between SCORE, between what you guys are doing. There's a lot of money that's out there that doesn't get tapped because people think, oh, it just requires too much to go get it, right? Or they don't know where to go get it. And I'd like to see us, champion a strategy to get the information out there and demystify the process to the extent that we can.
Yeah, great point. Just to add on to that briefly, one thing that we have changed in the last year with city manager's assistance is when folks apply for a business license, we're actually asking for the business owner's email address. And sounds like a small thing, but in terms of efficiency with which we can disseminate information and contact folks, assuming it doesn't go into the spam folder immediately, we think that it's a great way to streamline at least the sharing of information. It's not a silver bullet, but it has helped us in the past in making sure that these businesses know what's out there. Now that's only one step in the process. Giving them the confidence and the technical assistance and the digital expertise in some cases to provide to apply to these programs is a whole nother piece. But we've worked to at least improve the ability for us to exchange information quickly with our small business community.
And to rewind back to the South City Business Center, is that an actual physical location that South City is putting up?
I think the goal is for there to be a brick and mortar, physical space. But considering where we're at right now and this whole new normal, I would imagine that whatever is developed will also have a strong virtual kind of meeting space, if you will, so that folks from Daly City, for example, won't have to find their way to South San Francisco just to get advisory services.
Okay, great.
I had a question, and I don't think I've seen it, but is there a business association for Daly City business owners to like be part of?
I'm not aware of a Daly City Business Association, if that's what you're getting at. I know
Yeah.
that there's a Daly City Colma Chamber of Commerce, which I've been informally connected with. I'm not aware of any significant programs that they're taking on. If any of you guys are aware of that Chamber of Commerce, I'd appreciate any additional comments.
I can help you out a little bit on this one. So right when I became the city manager, we were in limbo with the Daly City Colma Chamber of Commerce. And we did not renew our contract with them for several reasons. And then unfortunately, the director passed away. Some of you may know Georgette Sarles. She was the owner of the beauty shop in Westlake for years and years and years. And she passed away. And the board ended up sort of taking over for her. They're in major flux right now, major flux. They're having trouble finding records and those kinds of things, but they have a lot of heart. Right now, Daly City is not formally or contractually a part of the chamber. However, I believe the council may entertain a partnership at some time in the future. So we have this sort of good relationship, but it's not formal at the moment.
Thank you, Ms. Mulvey. Yeah, that's super helpful.
I won't even say shamefully. I contacted the chamber several years ago and actually joined via paying my dues, and then I reached out to them, and maybe they was at the time they were in flux, and I never really got any feedback except when it was the Christmas event and they were raising money. And so I didn't find it very useful, but I do know some very successful chambers, around the Bay Area, and it could be a great, as city manager Ms. Mulvey said, I think it'd be a great resource and would be a missed opportunity if we don't reach out to them to at least engage and see what information we can disseminate, understand their members, and because they could be a great resource for us as we get established in the Daly City area.
So I also have experience with the Daly City Chamber of Commerce, but I contacted them as well and didn't hear anything back from them. With their events, they didn't have any, it just didn't seem very active. And so therefore I joined the San Mateo Chamber of Commerce, which is massive, and they're extremely active, not only on a small business level, helping with resources and workshops and things like that used to be in person with lunch and everything, but now they're all virtual, and I still find them extremely helpful. They have workshops, related to legal, related to commercial real estate, related to all kinds of things, small business. But they also, which I think is really key, they also have city management and a policy and development monthly meeting where the chamber gets to chime in and participate in the city's economic growth and their general plan. So that might be something that we either join up with, because San Mateo's chamber encompasses not just San Mateo, but businesses from Burlingame, Foster City, and all the surrounding areas over there. And of course, us, Daly City, there's a ton of business people in the business community that are part of that chamber.
So just to clarify, this San Mateo Chamber is a citywide chamber, not a countywide chamber?
They don't, it's just called San Mateo Chamber of Commerce, but they don't they don't care if your business is in San Mateo or not. Mine is here and Burlingame, and they took me in, and as well as several other businesses that I know of, chiropractors, dentists, everything like that. They're part of that are working here. Their offices are here in Daly City, but they're part of the San Mateo Chamber.
Thank you.
And I'm sorry, I'm not super familiar with being part of a chamber. So that's not something that's the city would be doing. It's a group of business owners that will put together this chamber of commerce. Or I'm just trying to understand, like, is there a role that a city plays in that or not at all?
Do you want me to help you out here, Brandon?
Yeah, sure, please go ahead.
Or you can chime in. So I think each city runs it a little bit differently. The way it worked with the Chamber of Commerce that was Daly City Colma, which I said is currently in flux, and you sounds like some of you have had experience with them in the past. It was a board of directors. I believe they were business owners. I'm not entirely sure. I know that the executive director, the one I mentioned, who is unfortunately passed on, she was a business owner in Daly City in the Westlake Shopping Center. And both Colma and Daly City, when we were in a contract with them, we paid an annual fee and then sort of helped them market the events, things like crab feeds. There were scholarship programs. Admittedly, it was not very organized from the chamber side. It definitely had a homegrown kind of feel to it, which can be really great, but it also had its downfalls. But other cities, I mean, there's definitely multiple models out there. And, I know that the council, even though we're not in a contract with the chamber right now, that is something that has kind of pained the council not having that resource for our business community. So I know it's on a list of things to be looking at, for staff to be looking at. And this commission, the Small Businesses Commission, could not come at a better time, not only because we do not have a chamber, but also when this commission was adopted by the council, we did not see COVID coming at all. And so the council was very forward thinking without even really knowing it. But thankfully, we need you now more than ever. So this is a really good discussion. Hey, Panda. Sorry, that's my daughter yelling at my dog.
I just looked it up, and it's the official title's name is San Mateo Area Chamber of Commerce. So I think that's why they're allowed to let in other people. And I actually know the president very well, and I'm actually a part of their policy development subcommittee meetings, and I'd be happy to broach the topic about doing something with Daly City formally, or make an introduction.
I personally don't see any problem with that. I think starting a discussion is painless, and we really have nothing to lose.
Yeah, I agree. I think exploring all options, but also just being sensitive to the fact that there is an existing chamber that may want to somehow compete if we end up doing an open market for a chamber, if that's the council's wish and we have the resources to do that. Just to be sensitive of the existing chamber would be something I would want to do, maybe.
Yeah, it sounds like now that we do have a wonderful group of folks geared towards small business support in Daly City, there may also be an opportunity to help to regrow that relationship with this local chamber. Yeah, just like Ms. Mulvey was saying, we want to be sensitive to what is existing in the area. So a couple different avenues for us to explore moving forward.
And they may even be open to partnerships as well, so there's dialogue that you may wish as commissioners to have with the chamber as well. It was Felicia Leong who I've been working with at the chamber, and she was very humble about the spot that they're in right now, and I think would welcome a conversation with this commission.
Thank you. Any other input before we move on?
I don't have any input, but I do have a question. And I guess it came up with a local business near me. Daly City unfortunately gets a lot of dumping, right? And it seems that with COVID and the shutdown or reduction in services, it is exacerbated, right? And I've had to call West Management. So, but I've talked to some other businesses, and they're seeing a lot more of it. Is there a plan to? And I think it affects, as businesses open up, particularly those that have storefronts. It's a sore thumb, and has the city council kind of given some thought to, as we're transitioning back, opening up, applying more resources to kind of get the cleanliness and the basically the trash off the street per se, right? Do a better job hunkering down to help
Yeah.
the businesses not have that additional burden,
Truer words have not been spoken. It's really, for a lack of a better term, gotten out of hand. And it is on the council's radar. I am actually going to turn this over. This will be a good opportunity for you to hear from our assistant city manager, Stephen Stolte, who was formerly our sustainability coordinator. And he has been working in my office with the assistant to the city manager, Leilani Ramos, who oversees the sustainability efforts in the city, on this program called Clean Daly City that we're planning to roll out. Again, it's probably good timing, but Stephen, can you hear me? Are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm happy to talk a little bit about Clean Daly City. It actually stands for Clean, Livable Environment and Neighborhoods. And it was launched last year during the pandemic in response to an uptick in illegal dumping. Even though it's been a problem long-term in Daly City, we did see this increase during the pandemic. And the first step that the city took was to revamp our ordinance on illegal dumping and litter. And we increased the penalties and made it more enforceable. And the city council adopted those ordinances last year. And then we kicked off the Clean Daly City campaign. There's 4 E's in this case. The first E was engagement. So you may have noticed some of our mailers that went out around the initiative, talking about how people can report illegal dumping using our Daly City iHelp app on their smartphones, the new penalties and criteria in the ordinance. And then we are now moving into an engagement phase, the second E, where we're asking local residents or business owners to be champions and join our effort and really be people that are eyes on the ground and that we can coordinate more closely with. And then we'll move into a more robust enforcement phase this year where we'll be deploying cameras at hotspots. We do know a long list of illegal dumping hotspots across the city, and we'll be rotating cameras among those hotspots in the hopes that we get identifying information like a license plate that we can follow up on and pursue the penalties. So it's a multi-pronged program. And everything we've learned about illegal dumping is that you need to address all different aspects of illegal dumping, like education, good start, and hopefully after this year, we'll be able to see a decrease in the amount of illegal dumping.
Thank you, Mr. Stolte. Yeah, it's super helpful information. And glad to hear that the city is taking an active role in attempting to reduce or eliminate illegal dumping in the city.
um, I'm glad Mr. Hill had mentioned, illegal dumping. My concern especially in my area, top of the hill, Daly City, almost daily, my neighbor CNG Appliances has to clean his sidewalk. A lot of, I guess, people are sleeping there, homeless people, and then at the same time urinating. Just in my place, I think this last year, I believe I called twice because aside from urinating in front of my you know storefront, and my neighbor, luckily he was hosting it almost every day, and I tried to reach out, Daly City Police or the service, and they were saying that if it's not what do you call this? If it's within your area, then it's like I'm responsible in cleaning it. And then if it's on I think near the parking, parking meter, then I have to call. So I just want to clarify or correct. I mean, what's the agency that I have to call? Because pretty much it's almost like every other day I have to like spray water outside, you know. So those are my concern. And I know CG Appliances, they've been doing that almost every other day, hosting their storefront.
Yeah, that it is a harsh reality to have to deal with that, especially human waste outside of your business.
Yes.
The top of the hill is definitely our hotspot for that. The reason is that many of the bus lines end there, and people get off the buses and they're in top of the hill for the evening. So it is true that businesses are supposed to take care of their storefront area. But you can definitely call our public works department if there are cleanup needs. I would recommend also that you get in touch with the city manager's office if you do notice homeless individuals, because we just strengthened our working relationship with our homeless outreach team, or the HOT team that operates out of our community service center, which is right across the street from City Hall. And they will deploy staff that can connect homeless individuals with resources. And it's a really effective model, but we do rely on people to call us when they know of someone and where they are or where we could find them, so that we could send a staff person out there to try and help them or get them into shelter. So that's another thing that I think would be really worth your time in calling us and reporting. But as far as cleanups go, the unfortunate reality is that yes, that does fall on businesses that are affected. But if it is in the public right of way, you can definitely call our public works department for help.
Okay.
Right. Mr. Sote, I would love to get your email. My area, I'm top of the hill as well, and it's a hot spot. One thing I found out, I've been dealing with dumpings the last 7 years I've been here. It's gotten better because I asked the city to remove, or Waste Management to remove, a garbage can that was right in front of my building. And what a garbage can is like the area is like a garbage spot, right? A dumping. But I have some suggestions, and I think, and one of them is, we need to figure out a way to engage Waste Management more. And here's why I say that. The city has limited resources, right? And I've seen Waste Management go right, buy a garbage. They'll dump the garbage, but they won't pick up the stuff in the area. And so I'd love to have a conversation with you about some ideas, because it's really bad. And iHelp is great, but it doesn't, it's not as, it needs to be more effective and I think robust. And I would just say in terms of the homeless, I found out from the police that San Francisco, the bus line that ends at the top of the hill, San Francisco requires the homeless, because they'll stay on there, to get off at Daly City, and they can't catch the bus back the other way. So they roam through from top of the hill through the businesses. So I get a lot of people that come in at different times. So that's just a natural ongoing challenge because of the way the bus requires people to kind of get off. So love to hear some ideas and figure out, because I know a lot of other businesses have mentioned that's one of their biggest gripes. It's just not just the dumping, but kind of dealing with the graffiti and all the other stuff that tends to happen in our area. So
Yeah, yes, and hold on one second. Plug in my laptop, but yeah, your comments about the removal of a garbage can actually helping them to improve the situation. That it's fascinating because that actually it's counterintuitive, but it does help. The garbage cans up in top of the hill have been attracting actually a lot of household dumping of just plastic bags and things like that from some of the surrounding residents. So we are currently working with our garbage company. It's Republic Services. They are contractually obligated to pick up illegal dumping. And the reason why we like people to report illegal dumping on iHelp is because we can then track their response, because they have a couple days to pick it up. So, but yes, we are working with them to try and improve their service when they're out there. If they see illegal dumping, they really should be picking it up. So it's something we're engaging with them right now.
I would, I don't want to dominate the conversation with that, because I love to talk to you offline, because I've actually talked to them directly and they've told me that it's not their responsibility. I mean, I've called the line, and so that's surprise news to me. But yeah, I'd love to have a conversation with you and see what what we can do, any suggestions I can make, or how I can help. I put a camera outside, and now but I find it interesting that the community actually brings garbage from down from where their homes, and they actually dump it right next to my building in the street next to the garbage can. It's and I go, so I just lastly, I went through the garbage one time and I found, because you see mail, right? I want to know where it's coming from, right? I called the city, the police department. They said, well, legally I can't, I'm not supposed to be touching people's mail, but I want to know, because if you're dumb enough to put your address and your mail in the garbage, and so I went to somebody's house. I probably wasn't supposed to do that, but I just told them they couldn't dump there anymore. I was going to report it. I think they were pretty surprised when I showed up, but needless to say, it got really bad. So love to have a conversation with you offline about ways that we can maybe work together to do something.
I'm happy to do that. And if you do find identifying information, I would suggest that you let us know so we can have our staff go out instead of you.
Okay.
Because we will follow up.
Okay. Fair enough.
When there's identifying info.
Yeah, glad that we're identifying already some opportunities to collaborate. And yeah, thank you guys for the frank discussion. I appreciate also just now, I think, is a time where illegal dumping is likely increasing, not only due to the fact that folks are experiencing financial hardship, but also due to the fact that because less retail commercial spaces are open around top of the hill, we've got less eyes on the street. Right. And less, informal enforcing bodies who, like you guys, who would go out and try to regulate or, suggest different kinds of behavior. And yeah, hearing that you guys are reporting to the city, being active, community members, putting those eyes on the street is a first really helpful step towards creating positive change. So appreciate appreciate the work that you guys have done and look forward to the future collaboration. Any other final comments before I move on to the next item? Okay, thank you again for your input. Moving on to the next item, announcements and communications. Do any commissioners have announcements or communications that they would like to share with the group? Okay, hearing none. And yeah, appreciate that we've discussed a lot of this stuff in connection with the other items. Moving on to the next item, next meeting. The next regularly scheduled meeting is set for June 10th at 7 p.m. I know it's a ways away, but are there any conflicts, perhaps vacation schedules that we should be aware of? And in the interim, this goes for all future meetings. If you're not able to attend, just give us some forewarning. Much appreciated. Moving on to the next item, public comment. I have not received any public comments in connection with this meeting. So unless there are final comments, I will move to adjourn.
I just want to say thank you. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your energy. This is a great lens for a city manager like myself, who I've only been doing this for a few years. My background is human resources. I learn a lot from my staff. My goal is to learn something new every day, be challenged. And this discussion, I wasn't sure what it was going to look like going in, because we've never had a commission like this before, but I can tell this is good. This is good energy. I can tell you will be ambassadors for us, you know, not only bringing us ideas, but the things that we're already doing, you can go out and share that information with small businesses, and it's win-win. So I really thank you. And from the bottom of my heart, this has been interesting, and I look forward to see how this grows. So thank you.
Hey, Brandon, I just wanted to offer up to the other commissioners. I have, if you're still in need of PPP or EDI, I have a great bank in Community Bank of the Bay. They work aggressively with small businesses. They're also a CDFI. I've referred probably about 5 businesses to them, and they've all been successful in getting PPP. And again, I said I work on the NorCal loan committee, and and they have a host of banks that are you know, very amenable to working with small businesses. And so if I can be a resource in that respect, please let me know. You know, I may have missed it, but I don't, except for Commissioner Manuel, I am not sure what everybody else does in terms of their business. And maybe you already sent something out, and then maybe if you can resend it, would be helpful.
You mean, sorry, Commissioner Hill, just to clarify, you mean description of what business each of the commissioners runs?
Yeah, send something out. I probably went in my spam or something. Yeah.
Yeah, no, happy to provide that information.
Perfect. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I may be tapping on your shoulder regarding that that loan, that bank contact moving forward.
Okay, fair enough.
Appreciate that.
I just wanted to say thank you to everybody here for your time tonight, and for the effort to help with the city's small business community and growth. I have a quick question, Brandon. So for housekeeping for the next meeting, am I going to be pretty much doing what you're doing?
Oh yeah, you are.
Okay.
We'll
problem.
be, so it's, you know, I anticipate that it's going to be collaborative, and I, as you might have observed, I don't hesitate to chime in when I feel it's appropriate. But and I think that we should probably have a follow-up discussion with yourself and Vice Chair Commissioner Hill to just, yeah, talk through, agenda building more specifically. But yes, is short answer. You will be taking on a leading role and going through agendas and moving from item to item.
Thank you. Let me know when you want to set up the agenda review.
Definitely. I'll be following up with both of you.
Okay.
Okay. Really pleased with the discussion that we had today, everyone. And yeah, City Manager, Assistant City Manager, thank you both for being here and providing valuable input. And thanks to everybody for being here and contributing as you have. And big congratulations to our new chair, Ms. Manio, and Vice Chair, Mr. Hill. Look forward to working with you both.
Likewise.
This meeting is adjourned. You guys all have a great evening.
All right,
You
thank
too.
you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Treasurer.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.